seen Josh Allen talk about it. Josh Allen always has his back. There's never been a hint of any effort or any frustration or any attempt by Josh Allen to take over that relationship. That relationship was dominated by Stefon Diggs. As long as Diggs got what he wanted, everything was fine, and Josh Allen never pushed back at this disrespect that we saw from time to time. I'm making inferences based upon what we've seen.
I know,
and when
and
you see
I'm
the body
just telling
language
you,
from
like,
Josh
nobody's
Allen
going to
looking
call
down
out a player
like a
at a
school
post-game
kid
press
who's
conference and do that. That's what if he did that, you'd go, he's a bad leader, Mike. You're putting him in like a no way.
No,
if he did that, because we've never heard anybody say that type of stuff. Who goes into a press conference and
where you have to do
says
it?
stuff?
Aaron Rodgers says it.
When?
Aaron Rodgers does it.
When?
Aaron
As a
Rodgers
team
called his
thing, he
guys
never
out.
calls it out. He
called them out.
does cryptically, like, says coded stuff.
People.
That's not a cool way to do it either, and you agree with that.
Well,
right.
Well,
exactly.
But we also say,
his ass is out of Green Bay because everybody was sick of it, Mike. Stop.
Go ahead. You talk till the break. I won't say anything more. Go ahead. You
go. Be a baby.
Take it over.
Right.
Take it over.
Good.
I'm not being a baby.
You are.
For sake, let me talk.
No, you talked a lot. Right. Get out of here. Shut up, you baby. Get out of here.
Holy cow. Y'all see? Y'all see the links these dudes will go through to defend their favorite guy now. This right here is a prime example of why we cannot place any type of credence in anything the mainstream media says because they forgot the basic foundational rule of journalism, and that is trying to remain impartial. Otherwise, it turns into a propaganda hit piece. Chris Sims, you couldn't have exposed yourself anymore for just how petty, biased, and personal any of you analysts like a Dan Orlovsky, a Chris Sims, and all the other dudes that we've seen just gawking Josh Allen nonstop. We finally get to see just how personal it really is for you guys. I have to say, this is the first time that I have seen two reputable media personalities degenerate into a caveman style argument in which there's just a lot of grunting, posturing, and testosterone flying all over the place simply because Mike Florio wanted to lay any type of criticism at the feet of Josh Allen. Now, what's funny about this whole entire dialogue, and how I'm about to wrap this back around to the Cowboys, is I have never seen anyone get this up in arms when someone questioned Dak Prescott leadership, even though that's probably the most notable thing that people always bring up anytime they talk about Dak Prescott. They talk about his leadership. Yet there were sports shows running full segments questioning his leadership just because Trayvon Diggs was talking smack to him in practice and all this type of stuff. But you know what's funny? Think about this. The media went out of their way to try to glorify a situation concerning Dak Prescott to make it look as if the team is questioning his leadership or he's not as good of a leader as everyone would lead us to believe. Yet they're hiding stuff about Josh Allen that actually shows us he's not that dude and he needs his teammates to pick him up, and he don't know how to talk to people.
In the locker room after the game, when the media is allowed to be in there, everything's pretty much fair game unless it's a medical conversation or something happening in the trainer's room. But anything happening at a locker stall is within our rights to report. And Josh Allen was sitting there in full uniform with Kyle Allen trying to console him, and a stream of players coming up, patting him on the back, dapping him up, saying, hey, we'll get him next time, man. And I quoted Deion Dawkins in the story. And he said, 17 for life. I mean that. They were trying to pick the guy up. He had a towel draped over his head, and he just sat there. One thing I didn't include in the story was Stefon Diggs coming up to him after the game. And I didn't include it, I think, because as I recall, I didn't include it because I didn't know what Stefon Diggs said to him. But Josh Allen snapped at him. And he said, it's one fucking game. And kind of motioned like, I'm not talking to you here. And Diggs walked away, and Josh sat there. And in retrospect, keeping in mind this was week one when For all we know, everybody's hunky-dory. But looking back on it now, I wish I would have included that in my story or made some sort of reference to it. Maybe Stefon Diggs was saying something nice to him, and but he didn't snap at anybody else. A stream of players were coming over, popping him on the shoulder pads, I think, or patting him on the back, or, whatever. Like I said, dapping him up. Hey, man, we'll get him next week. And whatever Stefon Diggs said to him, Josh Allen wasn't having it. And I wish I would have put that in my story at the time, but I think that we look back and Stefon Diggs clearly in that moment, and it happened so quickly, would lead maybe one to believe on the regular was getting under Josh Allen's skin.
Hold on. How can Josh Allen snap on Stefon Diggs and say, it's only one game? But in the same vein, he also has his head down with a towel draped over it as if he's sulking over losing. Bad leadership. So it's just funny to me just how personal it gets for these analysts when they're discussing a guy that they actually like, when they're discussing a guy that they have some type of weird allegiance to, but they don't get this personal when they're questioning anybody else. They don't get this personal when they're questioning stuff that honestly shouldn't be being questioned about other players. I don't think I've ever seen an analyst get this frustrated, this upset over discussing any player. Hell, Chris Sims reacted worse than Shannon Sharp did when Skip Bayless went at Shannon Sharp's actual career. But see, this is the point. The level of protection that is available for certain quarterbacks in the NFL and the level of disregard that's given to others is just absolutely a joke. It's disgusting at this point. And to be quite honest, this whole segment was extremely laughable, and any little bit of credibility that Chris Sims still had left as an analyst should be completely thrown out of the window when you see this level of deference given to any player, especially one that hasn't accomplished a damn thing in the NFL. There was no reason for you to start attacking your co-host simply because he was pointing out something that honestly is worth a discussion. Why didn't it work? Why was Stefon and Josh always butting heads? Why didn't Josh come out and actually display some actual leadership? Instead of us having to see him come into press conferences, beating himself up and getting down on himself because he's throwing picks and all this other stuff, why didn't we see him display any leadership? Why wasn't this a bigger storyline? As far as I'm concerned, I should be seeing nothing but segments about Josh Allen's lack of leadership all offseason. But instead, we know what we're going to get. They're going to turn Stefon Diggs into this generation's Terrell Owens. They're going to turn him into this generation's Chad Ochocinco. They're going to turn him into this generation's Randy Moss. Instead of attacking the person that they should be going at, they should be giving him that extra attention. But we know what's going to happen. They're going to turn Stefon Diggs into the bad guy. They're going to turn him into a bad teammate instead of actually asking questions about, hey, is Josh Allen just not a leader of men? Just like they would do with Dak Prescott. But this, my friends, was just an extreme example of the very thing that we've been talking about and discussing and exposing all year long. I'm very, very intrigued to see what Josh Allen is going to look like this upcoming season, and I want to hear what the dialogue around him is going to sound like, because guess what? He's going into year 8, and the clock is ticking. Guys like Dan Orlovsky say whenever a quarterback's in year 8 and they haven't won yet, it's time to start rebuilding. So the Bills have gotten rid of Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and pretty much everything else around Josh Allen on the defense. Seems like it's time for them to rebuild to me. Either way, we still them same old Cowboys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.